Okay, we're recording.
I think we're recording. Yeah. Well,
Indeed.
good morning to you in Hong Kong. It's good evening for me in Singapore. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to introduce you to Kingsley Lowe. He and I go way back in our history, in our Shangri-La days. But he is now Group Director of Revenue Management and Distribution for Wharf Hotels in Hong Kong. So, Kingsley, welcome to the class, which will be watching you as we record this.
Well, thank you, David. It is a gloomy day here in Hong Kong with about 25, 26 degrees Celsius weather. It's hot.
Yeah, that sounds like Hong Kong.
And humid as well, but well, I would say we're okay. We're not the hottest right now as yet, because it does get hotter in Hong Kong. It goes to 31, 32 sometimes in the deep summer.
Exactly.
But, it has been a long time since I would say our first meeting back in the early 90s, mid 90s.
Yeah.
When we were, I would say, when both of us were younger at that point.
Exactly. Yeah. Well,
and it's been my pleasure.
Well, it's really great to have you. Could you just tell us a little bit about your career and how you evolved into this position? Because in the days when you and I worked together, you were in the reservation side and moving into the corporate office. So how did you evolve into this revenue management aspect of things?
Yes, thank you, David. Well, actually, I started off as a reservation agent at one of the, I would say, more renowned hotel in Hong Kong. I don't really want to mention the hotel name, but I can say it's the Mandarin Oriental in Hong Kong.
Yes.
Started back in 1985 and beginning as a reservation agent and then worked my way up through to my position right now. And in between, of course, there was a transition from reservations to revenue management. And essentially, the reason for that is that during my reservation times, I see the trend of the hotel industry here in Asia Pacific and in Hong Kong. Everybody is now looking at yielding, how we can maximize the hotel's revenues. And of course, because of the evolvement and improvement of the technology with the internet and with, I would say, business intelligence, all of these actually then came into place and thought, okay, reservations, it's a limitation to how much a reservation agent or reservation person can do. But when we grow into the revenue management side, there comes a lot of other areas such as marketing, such as advertising, such as data analysis. All of these will then come into play. And essentially, this actually boils down to my grooming myself into the revenue management area.
So were you at a revenue management position at a property level first before you moved into the?
I was.
Yeah.
I actually started as a reservation agent and then moved up to supervisor, manager, and then it started to evolve into revenue management at the property level and then moving up to the corporate level. Yeah. But of course, actually, from the corporate level, everything looks a lot broader and different versus a property.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I remember in our days together, you were very good on the data side way back then, and that probably lended itself to your enhancing your career towards revenue management.
Yes, indeed. Because as I said, well, just if I may fill in just a little bit on the revenue management level on the hotel property. On a hotel property, the revenue person or the revenue leader at the hotel property, of course, they would look after any of the data analysis, all of the trends, and I would say market intelligence for and only for that property. But when we move up to the corporate office, that umbrella really enlarges to cover the whole hotel chain, to cover initiatives that could be, I would say, implemented or that should be implemented towards the whole chain, and how individual, I would say, initiatives can benefit this hotel or that hotel. It's totally a different ballgame.
Yeah. Well, speaking of the group, I know Wharf and Marco Polo hotels very well from my career, but students here at Cal Poly are probably not familiar with it at all. So I wonder if you could tell them a little bit about what Wharf Hotels actually is.
Well, actually, Wharf Hotel's previous name actually was called the Marco Polo Hotels, whereby the first Marco Polo Hotel was actually in Hong Kong here, with the Marco Polo Hotels here in Hong Kong, with 3 hotels along the same street. But each of them caters for different types of market segmentation. And from that, it evolved. We evolved into different countries. For example, we go into China. We open hotels in China, and then we have hotels in Philippines, and so on. And in 2017, we actually, 2015, sorry, my apologies. 2015, we opened the first Niccolo hotel for the group. Because Marco Polo, you may think, oh, okay, Marco Polo, that name rings a bell because of the guy who travels in the sea, the Marco Polo guy who discovers someplace, geographically.
Yeah.
Marco Polo. And in fact, in 2015, when we first opened the Niccolo, and guess what? Niccolo is the father of Marco Polo.
Oh, really? Oh, that's interesting.
Indeed. And our the Niccolo brand is actually more towards a luxury type of hotel brand, whereby the Marco Polos are 5-star property levels.
Yeah.
With that first opening of the Niccolo in 2017, we came to an idea thinking, okay, and of course the same question actually was raised by many of the media as well. Niccolo, Marco Polo, it doesn't really ring a bell to each other. So what happened is we combined the two, and the name of the Wharf Hotels actually came about. Wharf Hotels is actually the mother company, Wharf Holdings, a big realty company in Hong Kong here. Basically, that it's the mother company of the 2 brands, Marco Polo and Niccolo. With that, the Wharf Hotel brand, the Wharf Hotel name actually doesn't go out to the public. This is only a business-to-business or B2B name when we do sign contracts with. But as far as the customer is concerned, they will still see a Marco Polo and a Niccolo. The Marco Polo being the 5-star and the Niccolo being the luxury type.
I see.
And we will continue to be, we have so far since 2015, we have opened 3 other Niccolo hotels. Other than the Chengdu property in China, which was the first one, we had then the Chongqing Niccolo, the Murray in Hong Kong, and then the latest is actually the Changsha in China. And in 2020, we will have a 5th one in Suzhou in China.
Wow.
All of the Nicolos.
Growth of hotels.
Yes, indeed. And in fact, most of these are high-rise Niccolo luxury brands. With the Changsha property, we actually have the hotel lobby on the 93rd floor of the hotel building. Wow. It's a skyrise. It's a very big skyrise.
Well, I should say so. Wow. Well, tell me a little bit about, you talked about all these different hotels and so on. Now, I'm assuming that you have like revenue managers at each of the hotels. So how does that relationship with your position and theirs work in terms of the kind of things that they have to do on a daily basis, what you have to do on a daily basis with them?
Yes, indeed. In each of our hotels, we do have a individual revenue manager or revenue leader, we would call them. They are actually the goalkeeper for myself at the property level. They would monitor the rate parity, they would monitor the rate structuring of the hotel, help to prepare the daily reports for the hotel property management team. And of course, from our perspective, from the corporate office, we oversee on their, I wouldn't say performance, but on how they actually work with the hotel individually. And there are times that when we see a promotion, when we see the hotel's performance deteriorates or exponentially increases, we would then, of course, ask them, okay, what's happening? What's the best practice? What have you done? And perhaps one hotel's best practice could be shared amongst the other hotels, because internally, although they do talk to each other, but not that much. So there are times that we actually oversee and share amongst ourselves what would be the best practice. Perhaps this is a good idea and it has run well, and it could be a promotion, it could be a it could be an operation issue, it could be a marketing effort. They have done something well, then of course we would then, from the corporate level, roll it out to the other hotels.
So they pretty much have the authority to run their own hotels.
Yes.
In that context, where do they report? What's their reporting aspect of who they report to, and how much decision-making authority do they have in the operation?
Yeah, well, each hotel, with the hotel on the hotel property level, we do have a revenue management strategy team, which consists of the GM, the director of sales and marketing, financial controller or director of finance, if you like, and then, of course, the front office operations team.
Okay.
At these we call it the revenue meetings. We would then share any information that we would, I would say, have discovered through analysis of the data that is gathered daily, whether it could be a price increase, whether it could be a promotion performance. We would then share with the whole team, and then a brainstorm could then happen, or a review of what has performed at the hotel level, what has worked, what has not worked, anything we would need to tweak in terms of when customer gives us the feedback, especially with the operations team and reservations team. When we do a price change, how much price sensitivity there is as far as the booking trend and booking pace is concerned, because booking pace is more or less the bread and butter for the revenue team. Whenever we increase a price or decrease a price, do a forecast, and of course, I'm sure you know, forecast the whole hotel, whether it could be a F&B outlet, it could be a housekeeping deployment. Everything depends on the forecast of the hotel. Mm-hmm. Whether you're going to be facing a full house situation, then you would, of course, need more people in the outlet or in the housekeeping to make up the rooms, or just more people at the F&B outlet to man the stations in case there is an influx of customers coming in or guests coming in to dine.
How often does that revenue management team meet?
We would recommend it at least twice a month. So usually every fortnight.
So on a daily basis, then when changes come up, or when you're dealing with group business and so on, the revenue manager then basically, I'm presuming, based on my experience, they interact with the salesperson or the director of sales a good bit in terms of the daily decisions?
Yes, those daily decisions would be made during the daily briefings of the hotel, not at the revenue management meeting.
Okay.
The revenue management meeting is the overall to cover for the whole team of the revenue strategy, I would say, team, and there could be other sales involvement as sales members involvement as well, just to let them know, okay, this is working, that is not working, and for the daily reporting, and that would come into the daily briefing, just to highlight what would be what has been picked up over the last day or two, and if there are any spikes that anybody has to be aware of.
I see. Yeah. I've always said that I was in the sales side of things before revenue management. So I, as a director of sales, oftentimes made decisions for the sales team about take this business or not take this business. So I never had the privilege, I'll put it that way, to work with the revenue manager in terms of those decisions aspect of things. But how do you see that relationship between the sales on decision for group business and so on, and the relationship with revenue management? How do you see that interaction work?
Well, that interaction, if I may say so, has always been a conflict between the sales team and the revenue manager or the revenue leader at the hotel. Because the hotel revenue leader has to take into account all factors. Instead of, excuse me for saying so, there are times that when the sales team, they're facing the customer, they will say, yes, everything is it's a go. But at the end of the day, when the revenue person or the revenue leader comes into contact with that piece of potential business, then we would have the data and the analysis tools to dig into, okay, is this piece of business beneficial for us? What kind of a replacement or displacement we are talking about? Because it could be a big piece of business. For example, I can give you an example where one of the hotels I was working for, in my previous environment. They wanted to take in a group of 200 rooms for the hotel, but if upon taking that, the hotel would then be 50% in occupancy on books, and a lot of channels and distribution platforms will have to be closed or, I would say, restricted because of that purpose. But what happens is, what about the days prior to that one day or post that one day? Of course, for any hotel, you want to look at a evenly distributed occupancy, not having a spike just like that, but a more consistent performance. And there are times when a lot of salespeople, because they are going after their, I would say, quotations or their goals individually, they'll say, oh, okay, let the business come through. But at that point, whether that piece of business is qualifiable, how it is impacting the hotel's other business, what business the hotel has to displace meaning, of course, I have to take less transient booking or less group or less corporate account people, corporate booking in order to take in your group. Those all have to be taken into account. And of course, not to mention the banqueting function space displacement as well. If this is a MICE group, of course, that also has to be taken into account. There are times that when we have a group or MICE group, as in MICE, as in meeting, incentive, convention, and exhibition group, that has meeting rooms usage and guest room usage. It depends on what kind of a contribution they can give to the hotel. We can then, of course, judge whether we want to take that piece of business. Perhaps they are a very large group, but wanting a substantial amount of guest rooms. But in that sense, if they have a lot of F&B or banqueting requirements, that could be twice that of the rooms, we may be able to, there is a high possibility that it could be taken because of the overall contribution of that MICE group to the hotel. So revenue management basically weighs in whether that is a total contribution to the hotel versus just the room side. So there could be a weighing system going on.
Well, yeah, then you create a win-win environment.
Exactly.
Yeah, and so I would imagine from all that you're talking about there that there's a lot of technology behind this in terms of decisions and all of that. You talk a little bit about how that works in terms of what you use and how you use that and how on a daily basis kind of thing at the property level in particular.
Indeed. Well, at this point, because of the, I would say, influx and the improvement of technology with cloud systems and all of those internet connections, we actually have automated revenue management systems or automated revenue management solutions, ARMS, to assist us with all of these decisions. These revenue management solutions essentially take in all the data in your PMS, your forecast, your market intelligence, your hotel competitor pricing. In fact, there is a current system called a Duetto, if I should use that name in this context. They actually take in the air traffic as well, as far as data is concerned. So you can see if there are a lot of people booking flights into your destination. And of course, the weather, the turn downs from your website, how the people are going into your website, clicking in, just checking, and then leaving your site. Those turn downs are also recorded and be part of their algorithm for that purpose. So
is it as simple as you've got a group business, let's go back to that scenario again, that you're looking at over a certain set of dates, and you plug in the information on it and it comes back and tells you what rate you're going to actually charge?
Correct, yes. That is also part of these systems as well. There is a group module whereby you plug in the information, the number of rooms required, the anticipated contribution this group is going to give you, and then the system will then calculate and give you back a basic minimum selling rate for that piece of business. And of course, they're all taken into account the contribution, the displacement that the hotel would have to do in order to be a win-win situation to maximize.
So it also then would give you what rates you should be charging for tomorrow through the various OTAs and all your other distribution channels?
Yes, correct.
Now, does it do that automatically then? Does it change the rate for you automatically?
It automatically recommend it to you for whatever the price of that group may be and what kind of a channel you would need to close or open. But essentially, at the end of the day, the revenue leader is the decision maker for that, whether to accept or decline on that recommendation.
I might have a follow-up question for you on that when we get to the future aspect in a few minutes. But,
sure.
Let me ask you, the trend that I've read about, I've heard about in my connections with revenue optimization is moving towards the total revenue optimization aspect of things. Is that something that you're doing there? Is that something that you see the trend in Asia growing towards?
Definitely, most definitely, David. At this point, Wharf Hotels is not doing the total hotel revenue management system or total hotel revenue management yet, or as in THRM, total hotel revenue management. But in my previous days with Marriott, they have actually practiced that a long time ago, maybe even 10, 20 years ago already. They have already taken into account if a piece of business for rooms and for banqueting, RB&E, or F&B, what kind of a total contribution it would give to the hotel as a whole versus just on the room side or just on the banqueting side. And of course, there are also times that at this point, when you actually run THRM, you would then have to have a very close relationship and keep the communication between revenue management, sales, and banqueting, if they are separate departments, very close communication for that purpose. Yeah. And in the same sense, your catering team would also require some kind of an automation for a sales and catering system as well to manage the space, because the space could be shifted around upon, I would say, permission from the guest, of course, because you can't confirm a piece of business to a guest for a function room, and then suddenly, all of a sudden, say, "Oh, you're instead of on the level 6, you're now on the level 3." You can't always do that. Yeah. They may not like it,
but it will give you the decision-making tools to determine whether you take this wedding versus taking this group aspect of things, or whether you're displacing transient rooms by taking this or that along the way.
Absolutely. Yeah. It will give you the edge on what kind of a gain, what kind of a loss you would have using these systems.
So thinking about the future now aspect of things in terms of what do you think are some of the biggest issues that are facing the revenue optimization, revenue management side of the business, and keep you up at night?
Well, unfortunately, I think this same couple of questions, or couple of, I would say, how should I put this? Couple of theory. I wouldn't say theory, but it's an action actually. Every hotel in the world, as far as I believe, are looking for direct bookings through their own brand sites, brand.com. Their own, it could be MarcoPoloHotels.com, it could be NicoloHotels.com, whatever the hotel brand is. That is definitely because the most effective and most cost-effective and most profitable, your return on investment, your most profitable channel will always be your own brand.com. Not to mention, you would create the loyalty, all of the, I would say, confidence that you can build for the guest. That is number one. And the second thing, which is, I would say, affecting every other hotel in the world, is rate parity. This is a major, major headache for all of us. With the emergence of all these wholesaler, business-to-business or B2B channel or platforms putting up their own wholesaler rates onto the OTA platforms. And that is creating a whole mess of issues around rate parity. This is one of those things that is bugging every single hotel Whether it's in Hong Kong, in the US, in Asia Pacific, I'm sure everybody's having that. And to be honest, it is a very difficult situation to resolve unless you say, okay, I want to cut all of my wholesaler rates. I'm not signing up with any wholesalers, but is the hotel able to do so with the performance if something that happens? It's really a controversial issue here.
Just to clarify for the students' benefit, when we talk about rate parity, what you're saying that is basically your rate that's exposed to the public in any channel would be the same in all cases.
Correct.
And no one would be showing a lower rate than that unless perhaps it was your own direct booking site.
Correct. Absolutely. You're right. Yes, that is exactly what it is.
And all of those third parties don't want you to undercut them with your own direct rate.
Exactly. Yes. And vice versa. And vice versa.
Yeah, exactly. And vice versa, even more so, because that's more of the history of the wholesaler aspect is selling your rates lower than you've got them out there.
You know? Correct. Exactly.
Yeah. That's interesting. So, okay. So the future of revenue management, one of the things that came to my mind when you were talking is that all these systems coming together. So one question I have in terms of this future and so on is the revenue manager replaceable with AI?
No, that is definitely not the case. AI is good to learn. Well, I would say my no may not be effective in 100 years from now. I don't quote me on this year type, but at this very moment, no, definitely not. I mean, unless such a time that the AI can really, really think for itself, and with all of the operations at the hotel level, then can be automated as well, then there has to be a human factor into this to make the correct decisions. Because I'm sure you would know, whenever a salesperson goes to negotiate a piece of business, okay, does the system know that? Probably not. And if it doesn't know, how is it going to evaluate whether that piece of business is good or not good? You won't know until you go back to the hotel, plug it into the system, then it would know. But at that point, whether the system actually learns if this piece of business is really good or not good, the revenue leader has to make that the final decision as to weigh out on the different aspects of what kind of a contribution it can be to the hotel.
Yeah. So it's still about people. So in that context, then where do you see the future of revenue management going?
It will definitely go ahead into all of the hotels around the world, whether it's a small hotel, big hotel. Some I've heard, some people told me, oh, I'm only a small hotel running 50 rooms. Do I need a revenue management system? Well, to be honest, I would say yes, you would need one. You still need one because judging from the market segmentation, the channels, the commissions, I would say at the end of the day, it's one word: profitability. How much profit are you making from all of the bookings that you're taking? Can that profit be increased from currently what you're taking? I mean, I'm sure you would understand, or you would agree with me. With the OTA, they would have commissions. Mm-hmm. With brand.com, it would have no commissions. And for that purpose, would you like to take more of an OTA booking or a brand.com booking? But in that sense, who has a better reach? Perhaps the OTA has a better reach. Perhaps the OTA has a bigger marketing exposure team to expose, or to, I would say, give your hotel a better exposure for that purpose. Is your brand.com that strong? Are you putting enough PR dollars into that to expand your own brand.com? It is a very delicate situation. And for even a 50 room hotel, that platforming, that segmentation, you want to take in more wholesale, you want to take in more corporate, take in more transient, that decision is always changeable. And of course, instead of having a human brain to crunch all the numbers to give you the optimized amount, let the system do it.
Yeah. And also, that true in good times and in bad?
Yes, both. Yeah. Well, to be honest, I would anticipate it would be for both good times and bad times. Good times, could it be even better? But bad times, of course, improve it. You can improve it better for that purpose.
So make sure you get the right business even in the low time. Yeah. Great. Well, just to kind of close out our discussion, you've been really terrific. I love the information you've been able to give us. What kind of advice would you give to a student who's entering the industry in hotels or event management with regards to careers and opportunities that may involve the revenue aspect of things?
Well, all I would say, the best thing is to keep an open mind, listen to or visit your competitors, look at market intelligence. I wouldn't say dwell into the technology development, but yes, you please do, because as technology evolves, as you said, AI could be something else that we could be looking at. That could also include marketing channels, media, social media channels, or whatever it may be. You just have to keep an open eye for that purpose and keep yourself out of the box.
Yeah.
Don't remain in the box. Think out of the box. That would be the best way to go. And of course, use whatever resources you will have around you. Whether it could be a team of people from the sales office, it could be a team of people from your reservations, even the lady who cleaned the floors in the public area for that purpose. I mean, in a hotel, everybody is a sales. Everybody is a potential revenue generating person. Whether it could be a word of mouth, whether it could be through a social media channel, a Facebook you may have on yourself, and you could be selling your hotel anytime, every time.
All the time. Well, that's great advice. Thank you. I can't tell you how much I appreciate our time and your time with them. I'm gonna stop the recording here. And
my pleasure, David. Thank you.
Thank you, and hope you have a wonderful day there in Hong Kong. I'll be back to you in a second after I stop the recording here.